Good morning, El Paso. Welcome back to this AMP podcast, the AMP El Paso podcast, your weekly, sometimes bi-weekly podcast on events and things to do here in the El Paso area. So by now, we are all supposed to be, I don't know exactly what the deal is. We were supposed to be on some sort of stay at home. What would you call it? An order? Is it a law? I mean, I heard people were going to be getting fined, or I mean, even put in jail. Is it really? I don't know what it is. It's a very weird time. I think, right? I mean, we are all kind of taking this. I don't know. I mean, it's weird, but yeah, I'm just looking over here the calendar of events, and everything pretty much seems to be either canceled or postponed. And I don't know. I mean, that actually kind of defeats the whole purpose of this podcast, right? Because this is something that's supposed to encourage you to go out and stuff. I was worried about events and things like that during the cold season. I was like, oh, hey, we got snow. We got quite a bit of snow compared to other years. And then I was worried, it's flu season. Just try not to get sick. And then now, it just seems like it's one thing right after the other. But, El Paso is a very resilient city. And I mean, I'm sure we're going to get through this. And yeah, I mean, I didn't put out this podcast on Tuesday because I figured, what am I going to talk about? But I figured, you know what? This is probably something that you could listen at home, especially if you're going to be stuck in your house and everything. I mean, this is kind of a better time to talk about this or talk about, events. I mean, most of the things that I've searched, are postponed, really. And there are a few things that are canceled. But most from what I've seen, even events that I was planning on going to and things like that have been postponed. And like I said, some of them are canceled, not a lot. Which I think, honestly, it's a good idea. I mean, come on. It's if this thing, we don't have like a vaccine for it and people have actually been dying. Luckily here in El Paso, I don't know how the people that are infected with the coronavirus are doing, or the COVID-19. But thankfully, I haven't heard any drastic stories where, somebody's already passed away here in the city, or even nearby. I'm not sure how Juarez and Las Cruces are doing, but I would imagine that if we would have had a death by now, unless I guess it depends on how it's covered up to trying to freak people out. I really haven't heard much, which I'm thankful for because, El Paso, we're kind of, the nice thing about here is that we're not too close to very major cities. I'm sure you've already heard that places like Dallas and Houston have already had, a pretty severe hit with this whole thing going on, and it's very disheartening for me to, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm very thankful. I'm very proud of how this city's kind of doing. I do see, still people out in traffic, and I think most people were confused about that whole essential, non-essential worker. Is it rule? I mean, it was a law, right? Because it was. It was written from the paper that I saw. It was written how pretty much all your laws are written, and it's got all these clauses and statutes on there. And that's fine. On top of the whole thing being a law and things like that, I think people should still even on their own an account. I understand we all need to go get groceries. We all need to go do things that are our responsibilities, and I do think that we should be taking care of those, but at the same time being very mindful. I know from the last I heard of this stay at home thing that went into effect by the mayor, that you're not allowed to, like, restaurants are not allowed to open the lobbies. You can only use drive-through windows. I think banks are also only doing business through the windows. So right now it's one of those good things, which, yeah, I mean, how many times have you been in a restaurant or just anything that has a lobby, a bank, or anything really? Those are the two things that immediately come to mind because, weekends we all like to go out and do that. Bars, or any place where you're inside a building that has a lobby that you have to wait inside, that maybe has an air conditioner, that maybe recirculates the air inside. I think that's kind of one of the issues that we're trying to avoid here. And like I said, El Paso hasn't really experienced anything too bad. And like I said, I mean, I still see people out in the streets and driving back and forth. I would imagine to work or grocery stores. One of the things that I find pretty hard would be like these parents, either whether it be single parents or even if it's if you have both parents with kids, especially if you're one of those workers that was considered non-essential and you either have to stay home or whatever your situation is. I think I think we're handling it very well, but I do think that people are going to be affected in different ways. So we should all try to be mindful. In my opinion, we should all be pretty mindful of try not to get others sick or ourselves. Even if we don't get sick, we may actually be infected with whatever this virus might be. And then if you're going to go see maybe family members or parents or grandparents, even if you're not showing symptoms or if you're probably not affected yourself, you might actually be contagious to your family members, and to those of us that have parents or grandparents or anything either living with us or that we regularly visit, we should understand that we might be putting them in danger. So, just be mindful of those kinds of things. But, with that being said, I think I have been seeing, we all get those alerts on our phones, right? Where we get updates on how many more people got infected or how many more positive cases we have of this. From what I've seen compared to, honestly, what I just see in the news, really, is we're actually doing pretty good. Just don't go out if you don't need to. I do know that most things are closed. Like I said, lobbies. One of the things that I was kind of interested in seeing was all the like art places that happen to be here in El Paso. That includes like our museums, the zoo, libraries, and schools, of course. But I think, like I said, since I don't have kids, I'm not too in touch with what's happening with schools. To the best of my knowledge, all kids are in an extended vacation, which we should probably take that with a grain of salt, because like I said, not for everybody. I think most people are considering it a vacation, but what it really is, it's an effort to try to contain this thing. That way you don't get sick. That way we don't get those around us that we love sick, and possibly even put into quarantine or taken to the hospital and being isolated from people. So this is also an effort to try to keep your family close together and just keep to your own. And like I said, I did have to go out and do some grocery shopping. And the stores look like they're calming down. So if I could leave you guys with this, would be, if you're gonna be out in the stores and stuff, I think the whole bulk purchasing is kind of easing now. People are realizing that there's not a problem with the transportation infrastructure, which it's actually the business I'm in. I work here for a local trucking company, and I actually just work in the building. But I am still, I guess, deemed like an essential employee. So, with trucking companies, they're the ones bringing all your food, your toilet paper, your water, and all those things. Most of the bigger stores are still getting their materials. From what I've heard, some of the local smaller grocery stores are also keeping a lot of these items in stock, and they're doing a very good job of keeping that stock available to customers. And I do think that I think at this point it's every store is making efforts to minimize like multitudes of people just in their buildings. I know I went grocery shopping, and they had somebody at the door, and they were telling, we're only allowing a certain amount of people at the stores. And to me, to be completely honest, one of the hardest things for me to see is just these elder people, older folks going to the store, and especially those that are by themselves. I know some of our parents and grandparents can be pretty stubborn, and they could be very what's the word that I'm looking for? They could just think it's not something too serious, and they'll still go out and do their grocery shopping. But if you can, try to encourage them to try to help out if you can. Try to buy whatever they need from the store, that when they don't need to go out. And when you're doing that, try to be mindful of the things that you're touching, people around you. One of the things that I noticed with the slow progress of this whole virus thing is that our people are a little bit more mindful of each other and each other's space, because people don't want to be contagious to others, and they don't want to be infected with whatever it may be, and that goes with either touching doorknobs, touching door handles at all these stores that most of us are still going to. Most of us still need to. One of the things that I started doing once I stopped truck driving was I was able to buy all my fresh fruits and vegetables. So one of those are the things that you really can't store in the sense that these people buying bulk items are doing. So if you buy some oranges or some pears or fruits or peaches or whatever, most of that stuff, it only has a shelf life of maybe a couple weeks before you start seeing little spots on it and it starts going bad. So for things like that, and from what I've heard, stores have all of this on hand. There hasn't been a slowdown in all your fresh produce, fresh meats, because we're just simply, I think we're just simply not built here in the U.S. We don't have something built for fresh fruits. I don't know a lot of people that grow their own fruits or anything like that. I don't think I know anybody that has the means really to do it, or to go through the trouble of doing all that. Not that I don't think that there's really anything wrong with it. That's the way our society kind of works. But in these times of something like this COVID-19 thing comes out of the blue, it just attacks one of the places where we're just not ready to handle it. So if you're gonna be out buying fresh fruits or fresh things like that. Also, I know some people. I've been guilty of this myself, and my girlfriend when it's whenever we're underprepared or whenever we just want to run real quick to the store for something that you maybe forgot. We end up going maybe to the store maybe 2 or even 3 times a week. Because you go for maybe I forgot this one thing. I forgot whatever it may be really. But if I personally try to do my grocery days. Right, I take one day out of the week to do my grocery shopping, and coincidentally enough, that's the way these older folks do it. Because they want to, like they go to the days when they have like sales and specials or offers or whatever like that. So they have this system. It's one of those things. And right now, like I said, it's one of those things where it's throwing us all out of our rhythm. So we have to act accordingly. We have to act in just a sense to, minimize the infections and try to minimize our part here. And like I said, El Paso is very good about doing these things. I think we're a very like exemplary city in terms of how we react to anything really that is thrown our way. And like I said, we've been proven to be a very resilient city, in many ways, in many, many, many ways. So like I said, this is, with the lack there of events this week and possibly for the next few weeks, I don't know. I'll just talk about some of these things. I do know that a lot of places are providing lunches, especially for students. If you're a parent, that'll ease your, especially if you're out of work or whatever your situation may be. This is one of those times where we have to. And I've seen it, like I said, but I don't think there's anything wrong with repeating it. We have to look out for each other. We've been able to come together as a city for any tragedies or for any issues that the city does, and we're a very close knit city, and this is one of those things that I think we're handling pretty good. But I think we should try to minimize just how much we're outdoors and all that, because the bottom line is maybe we are thinking, hey, you know what, I'm probably not going to get sick or anything, but like I said, if you just happen to, as something as little as just touching maybe the same doorknob or a door or a handrail or something that maybe somebody else has touched, it could be pretty bad. Especially we don't want to go up in the numbers of these things, but I think the main thing is just trying to stay safe and trying to not get sick. The way I think about this virus is, try to take the same precautions that you would as if it was like your flu or your cough. Because from my understanding, this is the same thing, but very, very severe. Which, if you have a cough or if you get the flu or all those things, we have vaccines for all those things, and they are pretty effective. Although we still have a large number of deaths caused by the flu, we do have ways of treating that and dealing with it that can be very very effective. But with this coronavirus being like a whole different strand, and something that seems to be very, very much amplified, we should act accordingly. Just protect yourself the same way you would during the flu season or the cold season. And instead of because the way this virus is instead of just it being, maybe you're sick for about a week or something. Some of these people, it's even caused death in some of the places where it's hit hard. And it would be really hard for I mean, come on, it would be hard for everybody. And the solution is with most people staying home. And for different situations, I know that's easier said than done. But try to be mindful. I think one of the best things is just proximity. Try to stay away from most people. Try to stay. What's the rule that they're using? The 6 feet apart from others. And I don't know if this is good or bad. Maybe this is one of those times when it's pretty good, or it's whatever. But I don't usually go very close to people unless I'm at work or something like that, where I don't really have to. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where if you're going to be getting close to others, you just might want to be mindful of that. Just watch your own space, watch your surroundings. I know one of the things that I've been hearing, and I haven't really been seeing, is that people get all weirded out if somebody sneezes or coughs or something. And so I don't really know how that's doing. But yeah, like I said, let's all try to look out after each other, and look out for our families, for our family and friends and our kids, and those around us. Like I said, I don't have a lot of events because everything seems to either be postponed or canceled. But one of the things that I do want to let people know about is that I've heard most campuses around El Paso are still providing breakfast and some even lunch for students, even if your student does not go to that school. And this is mitigating some of it's helping some of these people that are out of a job and stuff. That if you have a couple kids, that could make a sizable difference in your daily or weekly allowance, especially since, personally, I think we are very wasteful, and I've tried to make changes, and I've tried to kind of do my part to not be so wasteful. Try to do the whole recycling thing. Try not to buy a lot of things that it's just everything right now is wrapped in plastic. Everything that you buy is wrapped in plastic. And whenever you're buying something, that's what you're buying. And I know some people are not worried, if you're going to buy something to stay healthier, stay cleaner, or anything, people are going to want to spend their money. But not everybody has that opportunity. And like I said, and that's one of the things that we saw in stores, where I think right now it's kind of it's slowing down a little bit more, and that goes back to the whole bulk buying. We shouldn't be doing that. We are looking out for each other, and like I said, I think we're doing better than most of the country, honestly, and probably even most of the world that is dealing with this. But yeah, like I said, we are just a small city here. We're a very close knit, conscientious city here in El Paso. So yeah, let's just try to be mindful. Let's try to get over this. And there's not really much that we can do in terms of. I don't think I can do anything in like the whole fighting a vaccine thing, right? So the best thing that we could do now is to kind of do our part, and wait and try to take it one day at a time to try to do this. On the AMP Facebook page, I will try to share all these places, schools, or even other societies that are associations that are trying to do either food pantries. I know the target for this is the elder community, since there was a focus that those that are older we should take care of them. I even heard there was a report that there was somebody in like some politician that said that the grandparents should sacrifice themselves for like the economy, which I'm pretty sure everybody in El Paso would be against that, regardless of your what your politics are. Really, because it's your family. We have to look out after for our families, and especially our older people. It's always it's always kind of a hard subject, and it's very personal. We all love our families. So yeah, just try to be mindful. Like I said, I'm gonna try to keep sharing all the places that are giving out free lunches. And free breakfast for these kids. I do think that the most of these places, such as schools, for the most part, I think they are only giving out lunches and meals for kids. So if you're a parent, maybe just be mindful of that. Just be mindful of what they're doing. And it, like I said, if you instead of getting no food or getting some food, just be mindful of where you allot it. People look at after the kids, and we want our kids fed and everything. We want kids, nephews fed, and also our parents and our grandparents. So we as millennials, as is the target of this whole podcast, we could kind of take the brunt of this, and from what I have understood, we're the bulk of the population. So we have to take the responsibility of doing this. And, you even get some humor with this. You get people that make videos or even, memes and stuff, making fun of, like how millennials are telling their parents to stay indoors. And that's just, we're trying to deal with this situation, which fortunately hasn't been very severe here in El Paso. We're just trying to deal with the situation in a humorous way. I think we are all slightly worried. Even if we still haven't seen it directly affected here in our community, in our city, or in our surrounding area, I think it is. But it's better to be safe than sorry. This is one of those times when I think that actually kind of does apply pretty good. I don't think I'm always on board with that whole saying thing, but I think being better safe than sorry. This is one of those times when I think that applies to it, because we don't want to be in a situation a month or 2 months or even a few weeks down the line where we have lost control of this here in El Paso, and that is not the responsibility of the government. That is not the responsibility of the president, of anybody in the political spectrum, whoever that might be. We have some of the responsibility as citizens, because we are the ones out in the stores, we're the ones out in the workforce, and for me, I'll keep doing my part. I'll keep showing up to do my work, and I play a small part in getting like some of those trucks to these stores to provide for supplies for some of these people. It's a very small part. I'll give you that, but like I said, I'll start doing my part. Like I said, because we have to have some of the foresight of if this is gonna get worse. Even right now, some people are. It's very minimal, I will say that, are complaining about, well, why can't we go out? I have stuff to do, and that's where I come back to the whole, be mindful of the things that you actually need and the things that you want. In terms of knowing what you have, what you throw away. I was listening to some thing on NPR, I think it was yesterday, where they were talking about the hospital industry, the hospitality industry, and they were saying that we have this mentality of single use, a single use mentality in the things that they use. And they do have a point in the sense that in the sense that you don't want to use something that's been soiled by one of the patients and then reuse it with another patient. Um, Especially, I'm sure they're not doing that stuff with like needles or things that are very important, but um, I do know that they are trying to reuse some of the things that are safe to use. And it's been kind of proven. Right now, some of the people that are essential to maintaining people fed and, I mean, uh, things still moving are some of the people in the fast food industry. Even some of the people in education have had to shift to, um, at this time, providing meals for kids. If you're a teacher, uh, you're probably going to be asked to help out in some of these efforts to provide lunches and meals for these kids that are on this prolonged vacation at this time. So we those are one of those things where we have to adapt to what's going on. And yeah, I mean that's like I said. I mean, there's nothing really. There's no events. There's nothing going on. There is a lot of stuff going on still. Like I said, people are still. It's all efforts. It's not events so much, but it's more efforts to deal with the situation that we're at. And people are still doing their jobs. Some of the most vital ones. So let's try to keep that in mind. Let's try to keep looking out after each other. And like I said, I'll keep posting things that I find schools providing lunches, meals, restaurants. I know a lot of restaurants have switched over to delivery. Some are even offering free delivery. And I don't know if it was just Texas, they even started delivering alcohol, like whatever has to do with alcohol. I think the biggest change right now is that bars, restaurants, and anything with a lobby is closing the business inside the building. So everything's either strictly drive-through or delivery. And let's try to tackle this head on, and let's do our part and not try to put anybody else or ourselves in danger as well. We really can't afford to just disregard this. And we all have to look out after each other. And one of the things that, like I said, one of the things that I've seen, I don't know if it's just me or if it's kind of my mentality around this, or maybe people are a little heightened in their senses, but people are looking out for each other. They're looking out at other people. Everybody's acting really nice. I kind of enjoy that because we're all in this together. You could either be rich, poor, whatever you might be. A boy, girl, a older person or a younger person, a kid. This virus, it will not discriminate at all. Um, it'll affect anybody just randomly, or not so randomly, but you know what I mean. You don't know exactly who might be infected or anything. You might not even know if you're infected yourself. And this thing won't discriminate at all. And I think people are realizing that. So everybody's, being really nice. I think everybody might be a little bit worried, which rightfully so. We don't really know how bad this is, how bad it's going to get. For the most part, I don't think most of us even know how to really prevent it, how there is a sure way to prevent infection or anything. So I think that's why everybody's acting very nice and very mindful of each other, kind of respecting their space. I've also heard some of these jokes that are going on online, where people are trying to like hold in their sneezes or their coughs or anything, which I don't think it's such a good idea. I don't think it's very healthy actually, but I can appreciate people trying to be nice and trying to hold yourself from coughing if you're especially like inside a store or something. I do work outdoors, so whenever I do end up having to sneeze or anything, I'm away from most people, so I'll kind of let it rip and just sneeze or cough or whatever. When I'm outside, And it's just not really sickness or anything. It's just, you just have to sneeze sometimes. So yeah, I think that's about it. Like I said, I'll just try to keep sharing some of those things. Try to share this with your family and friends, and I'll try to keep posting on this. You can follow the podcast on the YouTube page. That is Amp El Paso, and that is at Amp El Paso on Twitter, and the Amp El Paso page on Facebook as well. I think that's pretty much it. I did want to point out that earlier today I was sitting here in front of my TV finishing up my breakfast, and I did feel that tremor. And I know it was kind of that everybody here in El Paso and Juarez felt it. And it was really quick. It wasn't even like an hour that went by where just Facebook and Twitter was all just drowned with the whole thing, which it got everybody's mind out of that virus. But yeah, I was sitting here. One of the dogs was on the couch with me, and the other one was on her little bed here on the floor. And I felt it, and I thought it was a truck. We have some trucks that go by the house every once in a while. But this felt stronger. Like the shaking felt stronger. And I was like, wait, that's no truck, especially because I didn't hear a truck. And then the shelf behind my couch, like it started rattling, like some of the glass things that we have there. It started to shake a little bit. I was like, what? Whoa, no, that's not a truck. And I try to keep my ears out for like a truck going by or something. And yeah, there was no truck. And I was like, it kept going on for a little too long, just to where it made it a little uncomfortable. And yeah, I mean, my adrenaline started pumping a little bit, and it just kind of caught me off guard. And then, immediately what everybody does that, I immediately texted my sister and everything. I was like, oh, I just felt like a shake or something. Like I felt like a mini earthquake. I didn't know what it was because I know El Paso has them, but I've never experienced one, especially here in my house when it's all quiet and everything. So I immediately texted my sister. I was like, oh my God, we're having like some kind of earthquake, like the smaller earthquake. And it was really quick, like it passed by. But yeah, it kind of freaked me out. And then I texted my girlfriend and everything, and she's like, yeah, no, I didn't feel it. But yeah, and I just watched Tremors like maybe a couple weeks ago. And yeah, it just reminded me of some of those things. I was expecting like one of those giant things to come out of my floor. but yeah, I know. Like I said, I know that kind of went through a little storm through Facebook and Twitter. Everybody posted like, "Did everybody feel that?" Like I was on my couch, I was on my bed, Did anybody feel that shaking? But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was pretty strong. It rattled my shelves here a little bit. I heard some of my glasses kind of clink just a little bit. I mean, nothing too exaggerated. I know, I know some people from California are like, oh, that's nothing. But yeah, and I was actually even listening to the radio, to the Cali Q guys, the morning show, and they were talking about it. And I think it happened about like 9:15ish here in El Paso, from what I heard. And I do think it was a little bit stronger in Juarez, because I think it was here in Chihuahua somewhere. I don't know what part of I heard Ojinaga, which I'm not gonna pretend like I know where that's at, but I mean it's gotta be. I think it's part of Chihuahua. But yeah, I have no clue. The thing I know, I felt it here, and it just caught me off guard. Try to finish on a lighter note. Everybody, I feel like everybody's doing pretty good. Let's try to keep it going. Let's try to see if we can kind of nip those cases in the butt. We all have to do our part. And go out, see if some of these schools that are providing some of these free lunches. I think this might get pretty bad. I hope not. I think El Paso is going to be dealing with it very well. And we're a very close knit city, so I think people look out for each other around here, which is very nice. It's one of the things why I've always loved El Paso. and I'm so proud of being from here. We're resilient, we're close knit, we look out for each other, and I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get through this. So let's do our part. Subscribe to the podcast here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. It is at AMP El Paso, in Twitter, Facebook, and on YouTube. The YouTube is AMP El Paso. And the little logo is just the star, which is kind of a trademark here of El Paso or Texas. It is the star, and it just says AMP through the middle. And I'll be posting some of these things to be helping you guys all out. All right, take care, and I'll talk to you guys next week.